Do you feel good? If not, it's time. Time just because. We're going to talk about it on today's podcast. I've spent the last 20 years studying, teaching, and coaching people to find their greatness and take their lives to the next level. Along the way, it's become evident that emotions are at the root of everybody's successes and failures. Worry and fear are the enemies, and it's time to forge the armor and earn the tools to overcome the two things that could single-handedly destroy your future. Hi, my name is Michael Johnson, and I'm a life coach, a peak performance trainer, and I'm the emotions guy. It's time to take back control. Control of how you feel, control of how you act, and control of how you experience life. It's time to become a lifer, a new breed of overachiever focused on living every minute to its fullest. We are responsible for how we feel, and no one and no thing can make us feel anything. Emotional mastery is our journey, and emotional education and intelligence is the key. We are lifers, and this is Magic for Life. What's up, lifers? Michael Johnson here with the Magic for Life podcast, and I'm glad you joined me today for this very special episode. Well, I think they're all very special, but today we're going to talk about, do you feel good? Listen, you've got to actually learn to control this, because if the outside world is controlling your inside world, and that means you don't have any control. And that's crazy, right? That's crazy talk. I mean, if you think about it, it doesn't make any sense to give control to your outside surroundings. Now, there are a lot of things that go into the outside surroundings. One of them would be other humans in the world. Another would be other situations going on in the world. Another would be the weather, right? And any of these things, you could say, well, that made me feel this way, or this made me feel this way. That something else made you feel this way, right? You can decide and give things meaning. And so, with the filters that you have that take in all of the information that's going on around you, outside of you, you get to decide. And you know that you've experienced this. You've experienced this with people before. When something negative or something challenging to a group of people was going on, and all of a sudden, there's that one person or two people that are like, well, you know what? Let's just make the best of it. This is going to be great. And they start being all positive. And how did you react? Were you the person that was like, shut up, this is negative, you have to be negative too? Or were you the person that's like, yeah, I'm going to join on and be part of this thing, right? So I want you to think about that. Do you feel good? And if not, it's time. Now, let's talk about the Grand Canyon. Wait, what? The Grand Canyon. We're going to talk about the Grand Canyon. So if you haven't been to the Grand Canyon, there are lots of like outlook points. So you can drive and go along the roads, and then you can stop and you can park and you can go walk up to the outlook points and look over the edge in some areas and look at the grandeur of the Grand Canyon. And the interesting thing is that when you go and you walk up to the edge to see the Grand Canyon, it shows its grandeur, let's say, how amazingly big it is and how incredibly small you are. It's very awe-inspiring. And yet at the same time, you would never, and that's a big statement, you would never stand on the edge of the Grand Canyon and think to yourself, I'm going to jump to the other side. I'm going to jump to the other side of the canyon. Yeah. You would never do that. Now, interestingly enough, just to go with this Grand Canyon metaphor for just a second, the Grand Canyon was formed, I believe it's the Colorado River, most of the way. Yeah. And if I'm wrong, you can correct me. Feel free. But that river, that little teeny tiny river, carved out that Grand Canyon. Little bits at a time, one rock at a time, one piece of dust, one piece of dirt at a time, and it slowly carved its way through this amazing Grand Canyon. and now it's a spectacle to behold. And yet it took thousands and thousands and maybe millions of years. I don't know. If you're a geologist, you can let me know. To form this canyon from this river. And now that river, you barely see it at the bottom. You know it's there, and then sometimes you can only see the canyon. You can't even see the where the river's at, right? And so if you think about it, that river, just one grain of dirt at a time, one little particle of dirt at a time, formed this Grand Canyon over years and years and years. Now, let's cut back to the other piece of the metaphor, which is if you were standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon, you would not stand there and think to yourself, gosh, let's jump across. No, it is massive. It's huge. Now, what's this have to do with feeling good? Now, I use the word good, right, and not happy, because sometimes it's easy to get distracted by the word happy. Good is good for the moment. It's good for the situation. Good is a little better than where you're at. Now, here's the thing, and you've heard me maybe say this on other podcasts. I am where I am, and I can make it a little better, or I can make it a little worse. And those are your two options. Really, you can make it a little better, or you can make it a little worse. And now is the tough part. Now is the part where we actually choose to make it a little better. But here's the thing, when you're standing there on the edge of the Grand Canyon, you know logically, and you know that getting to the other side would take a helicopter, or you'd have to go down on a donkey and then climb back up the other side, or you'd have to just go around and go to the other side somehow, or somewhere, cross over a bridge, right? There are other things that you would have to do to get to the other side, but you would never stand there and think, gosh, I'm going to jump to the other side. Now, essentially, when you're feeling bad, or you're feeling in a bad place, like depressed or upset or angry or insecure, or any of those places that are darker emotions, when you're feeling that way because of something that's happened and you didn't manage it when it was coming in, obviously I would love to help you upgrade your operating system, right? Because if you upgraded your operating system, we could start to manage that stuff as it came in, instead of waiting till it was in and then having to deal with your representation of what it is that came in, right? And that's what it is, right? When we represent our experience, if we didn't manage it when it was going in, when it comes out, sometimes it comes out and not so good stuff, right? And that's usually when it feels bad. That's a little deep. You can hit pause and rewind, listen to that again if you need to, right? But that was a little deep. And here's the thing. When we get to that place in those darker states, oftentimes those things are telling us what it is we do want. So don't get too freaked out about it. But you have that choice. You still have the choice. Even if you didn't manage your filters and manage what meaning you gave to the situation or to the feeling that you have now. Let's say you're in that darker space, that negative emotion or that feeling that's just not good and you don't want to be there. You still have that choice. You still have to practice having the choice of, I'm going to make this a little bit better, or I'm going to make this a little bit worse. And when you start to think of it that way, who wants to make it a little worse? Well, don't try to fool me. We have both been there. We have both been to that moment where we actually choose and we want to make it worse. We want to feel worse, because in some way it actually is feeling better when we feel worse. That sounds sadistic, but it is indeed something we do as humans. We are strange creatures, that's for sure. All right, well, besides that, we do have a choice. We can make it a little better, or we can make it a little worse. And so right now, when I ask you, do you feel good? If not, it's time. It's time to do that. But you don't have to jump over the Grand Canyon to get to Disneyland in one shot. You don't have to be the happiest person on earth when you're coming from something that's sad or frustrated or insecure, or not feeling worthy of whatever, right? You don't have to feel eons better. You do not have to make the whole jump. But let's just start with something simple. Something small. What's something close? What's something you can generally say, yeah, that's good though. You know what? This is going poorly right now in my world, but at least this is a great use for the word but. just so you know. But is typically not a good use of language, right? Here, but is really good. When you're feeling poorly, when you're not feeling 100%, using the word but is really a helpful tool so that you can generalize. I'm not feeling good, but things are always working out for me. So I know it'll turn around. It might even turn around soon. I'm feeling kind of depressed, but you know what? That person's really nice. That person's really nice, and they're probably going to be really nice because every time I see them, they're really nice. So you can use this but to negate the other side of it, and you can start to actually just get closer. All I'm saying is just feel a little better. And I know I'm a broken record, and I've said it 100 times already this episode, but you have a choice. You can feel a little better or you can feel a little worse. So choose to feel a little better. And if you can feel a lot better, go for it. If you have some tools and systems set up like I teach in my D2E course, if you have some systems set up that already are ready for you so that when you actually don't control your filters and don't control your meaning and something slips by the gatekeepers of your mind, right? That's what you would learn in our epic devotion to the emotion course that's for entrepreneurs and people that want to feel good, right? But when we upgrade your operating system, you learn how to do these things. But for right now, if you haven't done that, if you haven't upgraded your operating system, it's okay. You can still choose to feel a little better, and you can start to practice, because you don't have to be perfect at it. You just have to start to do it. Because for goodness sakes, you don't get any time back. You're not getting any younger. You're gonna die. I'm not being morbid, but you are. I don't know when. Hopefully not soon, right? But you don't know. You don't get to choose. You don't get to choose. So you can choose whether you want to feel a little better or a little worse. And if you choose to feel a little worse, that's on you, because you chose it just as much as you chose to feel a little bit better. So let's choose to feel a little bit better. Let's choose to feel a little bit better. You are where you are. You are who you are. You can choose to feel a little better or a little worse. Let's feel a little better today. And you know what? If you know somebody that needs to hear this message, I know there are a lot of people that need to hear this message. If you know somebody that needs to hear this today, please share it with them on whatever format that you're using. We're on YouTube, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, Alexa. In fact, you can say, hey, Alexa, let me hear the Magic for Life podcast, and it should show up, right? We're on Google. You can ask Google to show you the podcast. It'll be great, right? But listen, share it with them, because if they need to hear this message, it might just be the thing that made the difference in their world. All they need to do is just feel a little better. And I know that is asking a lot in some instances, but I'm not asking you to jump the Grand Canyon. I'm only asking for you to find that one next thing. And then maybe from there, you can find that one next thing. And let's work on it. Let's practice it. Let's do this thing to feel a little bit better. We'll see you guys on the next podcast. Don't forget, every minute. Happiness is a choice. Sadness is a choice. All emotions are a choice. Sometimes doing our emotions doesn't seem like it's our choice, but it is. You have control. You are the captain of your ship, and you must learn how to be the best captain you can be. Let me show you how. Pick up your free copy of my new book, Every Minute, at everyminutebook.com.